Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. As we mentioned earlier, we'll be talking about the deep historical relations binding Egypt and the rest of the African continent. Of course, it has a long history, and it has gone through, especially that the relationship with Nile Basin countries has particular histories such as Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kenya, Ethiopia, Eritrea, South Sudan, and the Republic of Sudan. In order to shed more light on this very important topic, we're very much delighted to be having with us here in the studio Dr. Ismail Hamid, researcher in the African studies and an expert in the African history. Good morning to you, Doctor.
Good morning. Thank you.
Now, to start with, would you shed light on the historical relation between Egypt and the rest of African countries?
Thank you for your invitation. Surely that Egypt and Africa, we talk about a very long and deep history from thousands of years across the history. And I think just if we say that the grandfather of Egyptians, he is Misraim, son of Ham, son of Noe. He is the brother of Cush. Cush, he is the grandfather of Africans. Okay, yeah, we are Africans, but we talk about Egyptians and also Africans from the long time ago. Cush, son of Ham, son of Noe, so very long time. Noe himself was the 10th generation of Adam, son of Lamech, Methuselah, of Enoch, of Yared, Mehlael, Kenan, Enosh, Shet, and Adam. Okay, so we took a very long time. So also we have the same territory, okay? So Africa is collecting all of us, because surely that Egyptians and Kushite, that they came from other territories and then they were settled on Africa. I think that we talk about also millions of years, that is according to the new studies about that. Also the territory, Egypt, that it has two locations. So we have an Asiatic location of Egypt or territory, that is Sinai. The rest of Egypt, that is the African part of Egypt. So we are belonging to Africa. Also we share with the other countries, especially the countries of the Nile Basin. So we have like 11 countries, okay, from the sources of the Nile till the end of the Nile, that is from the deep south, from Congo, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, Eritrea, Ethiopia, South Sudan, North Sudan, and then Egypt.
So would you talk to us about the relationship, historical relationship binding Egypt and Nile Basin countries that you just mentioned now?
Yeah, we have that even from the time of pharaohs, okay?
Yes.
We have from the 5th dynasty, okay?
I know about Hatshepsut because
No,
I
that
know
is
I don't know before Hatshepsut, but
Yes.
I know that Hatshepsut extended trade relations with
yes.
Punt, which is Somalia, I believe.
That is a common information, but we have this more deeper and
Yes,
more older,
that's
okay?
what I want to hear from you.
Hatshepsut from the 18th dynasty, so nearly 15th century BC.
Yes.
But we talk about a king, he's called Sahura. He is the second king of the 5th dynasty. 5th dynasty, not 18, okay? 5th dynasty, nearly
Way
2000,
earlier.
yeah, 2400 BC. So we talk about 1000 years before Hatshepsut, that he sent a commercial expedition or float, okay, with the boats, Egyptian boats, by the Red Sea to go to the land of Punt, that is now the African Horn, or now that is Somalia, okay? And from the time of the 12th dynasty, the king Senusert III, that he had great relations in the land of Nubia. So land of Nubia, as you know, that it is the south of Egypt and the north of Sudan. Okay, so they were under the power of Egypt at that, from that time. And then we have the time of the Queen Hatshepsut, and then after that across the history till the Greek-Roman time, we have more links with that. Also even with the Christian time, that Ethiopia and land of Nubia, that they had a great relation, especially with their religious relation, because Egyptian Church of Alexandria, that is considered to be the mother church of the Church of Ethiopia. So the Egyptian Pope, that he sent or the Patriarch, that he sent a bishop from Egypt to the land of Ethiopia to be the Patriarch of the church there. So you know that he should be an Egyptian. that is to be the patriarch of Ethiopia. That link that was continued till nearly, we talk about 1957. You imagine that across about more than 2,000 years, that Egyptian church, that is the mother church of Ethiopia and the land all around over there, okay?
Yes.
Even also with Islam, okay? So we have the relation, because from Egypt, Islam was spreading to the rest of Africa as also Christian, okay? The Christianity also was spreading from Egypt, because we have one of the oldest church in the history of the man, okay? Egyptian church was considered to be very old and was founded by Saint Mark, who was one of the apostles, okay? And he is the author of the book of Saint Mark, that is very famous one. He is an Egyptian, or the first Egyptian patriarch. Okay,
Yes.
so we have very long links, okay, and ties between Egypt and Africa across the history.
So you
And
mentioned the religious
Yes.
aspect, and also you mentioned Nkrumah, the
Yes.
Kenyan leader, and that
Married
would
an
bring me
Egyptian
to ask you about Egypt's role in
Yes.
supporting African countries achieve their independence.
Yeah, I think from 1952, that after the Egyptian revolution, okay, Nasser, he had an attitude, okay, for the Arab nationalship, okay, or Arab nationality, and also to the depths of Africa. And from 1952, with that the big support and the great support that Egypt gave to most of African countries, so 1960, so most of African countries that they succeeded to have their independence, that is thanks to Egyptian support. And I think, as you said, that Nkrumah, that he was a historical and a heroic president of Ghana, he married an Egyptian woman, Fathia, you know that. Also, that is to show how was the tie at that time. Also, with Egyptian support to Algeria, for example, that they succeeded to have their independence after that. And even with Egyptian support, that Egypt was punished by an aggression by Britain and France, and also with Israel. That was the triple aggression of Egypt, that was 1956, okay? But also Egypt continued, okay, to strengthen its ties with the African countries, also Sudan. You know that the king of Egypt was considered to be the king of Egypt and Sudan.
True.
Because Sudan was also considered to a part of Egyptian territories, okay, across long time ago. That very a great link with the Nile, so we can talk about a destiny. You know that with the Nile, 6,700 kilometers long, the Nile came from two main sources. The Ethiopian source came from the lake of Tana, and then by the Blue Nile is giving Egypt about 85% of the water. So it's considered to be the main source of the life of Egypt. Also, the other one came from the equatorial lakes from Victoria, like 15% of the water came from the Nile, came from Victoria by the White Nile. Both of them, they are crossing in Khartoum. You know that very great link, okay, with the Nile Basin, with these countries, and also across the history, also with that story with the water, Egypt and Ethiopia. We have even with Egyptian, Egyptian spirituality over Ethiopia, but also they have that kind of an attitude that to show that we are also stronger, and also we can control the water, that we can send. They believe that they send the water. No, you don't send the water to Egypt, but water that came from the nature, as a common river is flowing on different countries, okay? So we can say that we send you the water. No, water came by the nature, okay? And that is in all the countries of the world. So we cannot say that we have the source of the Nile. You know, that kind of dilemma, that we can say that is a very old time. And I have some researchers about that. Some of their kings also, that they have such a kind of threats over Egypt. We control the water, even until now with that. But we can talk with the positive attitude, okay? I think even though some things like that is a little bit negative, but we stress on the positive attitude for this.
Which brings me to ask you about the new era of Egyptian-African relations under the leadership of President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi now. Since President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi took office, he has been very keen to further boost and strengthen Egypt's relations in all domains with the rest of the African countries, whether political, cultural, economic, and so on. And Egypt also hosted several conferences and hosted African countries and African youth in particular,
Yes.
in order to even take this relationship into a further level among the youth, who are the future leaders in the African continent.
Yeah,
How
that
do you
is
see that?
yeah, that is true. I think President Sisi, that he has a great politics, okay, towards Africa, because before him we had 30 years of of isolation, okay, very far of Africa, and that made a problem for Egypt, because lots of other countries that they have also a negative agenda towards Egypt, that they introduce themselves to the African countries, okay. So these 30 years they were representing a hard time for the relation. But I think now, from that time with our President Sisi, that now it's very strong, okay, and we have that very positive attitude over with the African countries, especially on the basin of the Nile, because that is the life for us. So I think we have lots of businessmen, we have lots of a grand Egyptian companies that they work, Arab contractors, they have great work, especially in Tanzania, and we heard about the construction of a new dam on Tanzania, okay, that is giving them a great energy, okay, for electricity and lots of things, but is a dam on a local river, so it does not affect over the water that came to Egypt like the dam of Ethiopia. So that is entirely different. So that is very positive point of view, that Egypt is sharing our cousins, our brothers, okay, on the other Nile basin. Also, we have the African centers, now they are expanding, okay, on the lots of Egyptian establishments, educational, okay, but also from here I have a call, okay, for our government, please, we need more, even that we have this, but we need more in order to treat the problems that we had from the 30 years ago, okay,
Yes.
because lots of powers, as I said, that they are now existing, so we have, or we have to have more strength and more power to be with them. And I call also to have a study of Africa in all Egyptian universities, that we need to know, because that is also our origin. So it is not just to know about Africa, because we are also Africans, okay? So we need to study more about that. We need also our soft power also to be there and to show them how were the links between Egypt and Africa was very strong, and even across the history. So also we need to beautify the figure also for the cinema and the other things, not to show also the Africans and some, some a little bit figures that they are a little bit negative, okay, they show that, with their image and the Egyptian movies, and that's a little bit older.
Well, this is
so
very
we need for
important
this.
what you're mentioning, Dr.
Yes.
Hamid, the soft power and the
Yes.
role of culture. Perhaps not so many Africans know about, or African countries, I'm talking about the rest of the African
Yes.
continent, because we are Africans,
Yes.
know about the Egyptian culture. And we, here in Egypt, we don't know much about the culture of various African countries. So perhaps that's the role of the government and the people as well.
Yeah, sure. You know that Egypt is a mix. You know that before coming of the Arabs, Egypt was pure African countries, okay? Even African race. With the coming of the Arabs, because you know that Africans, that they are Hamitic group from Ham, okay? So Arabs, they are Semitic group. So when the Arab tribes, they came to Egypt after the coming of the Arabs to Egypt in 640, so started to have that mix, okay, between the Arabs and the Egyptians, that they were pure African peoples at that time, you know. So for that, more than you go to the south, so more than people that are very clear to be a pure African, okay, people. But after that, with the across the history that became also we have the varieties of cultures of Egypt, Africans and Arabs on the same time. That is also the same like north of Africa, you know, north of Africa on Morocco, Algeria, that they were Berbers, okay, and then with the Arabs, okay, so they were mixed. So that is the same that happened. But for Egypt, you know, with the Nile, so we have we have very close relations between us and the rest of the African countries, okay. Also, I think that I should appreciate that we have lots of occasions, lots of conferences every year, and I'm being on these occasions, okay, that we invite lots of African researchers that to come and to share the topics and the researches, and also to be more closer with each other. That's very important time to have that links between us and our brothers in the rest of African countries.
Dr. Hamid, would you kindly talk to us about the Nile Basin Initiative?
Yeah, you know that we have Indigo, okay, Indigo, that is an organization that is collecting all the African countries that where the Niles and also the small rivers, also that they are coming, they are now 11 countries, okay. We have that organization from long time ago that is to control the relations and to put some rules and basics, okay, with the relations and bilateral relations between the countries that they are on the territories where the Nile is floating, okay, or the Nile is running. You know, that is a very long, that is the longest river of the world, also very extending. It's nearly, as I said, that about 7,000 kilometers long, very long river. You know, you imagine that's 11 countries. You know, if we talk about a little bit more than 50 countries in Africa, so 11 of them, they are only on the Nile Basin. So that is very important. Also linked with the Red Sea, so with the strategic position and location of the Red Sea, so that is very vital area with the Suez Canal, with the link between the East and the West, you know. So Egypt with its special localization and its special position, controlling the Red Sea with the Mediterranean, so Africa with the Arabia, with the southeastern of Asia, China and India, and the big markets over there with Europe. So Egypt is controlling all these areas. So Egypt is on the spot every time, and also with the great heritage of Egypt as a very powerful country with its contributions across the history, with its civilizations, you know. So Egypt is considered every time to be a main destination on the spot every time for this. So lots of plots also that they are preparing, but I think now Egypt is very strong to show its power for the other people. On the same time, with the very good link and ties with the rest of our African brothers. But on the same time, you know that with the problem of Ethiopia, we should talk that objectively, okay, that Egypt has lots of rights, okay, to get its normal water and not to make a dam, okay, by that way, and that is to get more of the water of Egypt, like 14 billion meter cube of water. That is very big amount that to be got, okay, from the water of Egypt. That was make a very big problem to Egypt, and the Ethiopian regime, they should be more wiser and not to follow some other agenda, okay, to be against Egypt. Yes. So that is very important, you know.
Doctor, you talked about the River Nile being the longest river in the world and how it is bringing together African countries. Yes. What was the role that the Nile River played in establishing African civilization?
Yes, you know that all the great civilization, they were linked to a big river.
Yes.
So if you imagine that, that is the biggest river of the world. Before that man, if we talk about the oldest civilization, so we talk about Egyptian civilization, okay? You know, Egyptians before knowing the value of the Nile, so they were like nomads. So they were like hunters. They were running on the desert, and they just they look for some animals, and they have no stability, because they look for water and the sources of the water, or on the wells, shafts, something like this. But when they found the Nile and the water of the Nile that is available for them to use it, so they lived just closer to the Nile. So with that, they started to build houses. These houses, they became like a village. The village became a big city or a province, and then it was expanding, okay, across the time. And then they knew the agriculture. So that was a very important sign on the civilizations of all the countries, especially for Egypt. For the agriculture, so you are very stable. Okay, you have all the that what your needs, okay, for nutrition and for food. That is the man that's looking for, okay. Not just to be a hunter and to go for the desert or for the forests that to look for animals. No, you have a stable life now, okay, and you have the water, not a shaft. And when the time that the shaft has no water, so you look for another one, like the Bedouins or like the nomads. No, so the Nile is giving the people that great stability to be stable life, and then to create, because you are stable. So you have to have more creations. So with the time that to know more things, and to know also the astronomies, you know, and you look at the stars, and you have lots of great things. Your houses also, you look at the graves. So they are on the other side of the Nile, that is to the west, which is considered to be the world of the dead ones, okay, or the dead people. So they started to build their graves, especially so we started to have pyramids. So we started also to have great wonders of the world, and also they constructed big temples closer to the Nile. So the Nile is giving all the African countries great civilization, especially in Egypt. Also in Ethiopia, for example, we have great civilization. We have that of Aksum, but it was 3,000 years after Egyptians. So very later one. Also we have in Nubia, we have also the civilization of Kush. Kush, that is on the north of Sudan, okay, and they have some small pyramids also in imitating the Egyptian pyramids, but also with a small size. So it took 40, 50 meters in Egyptian. So we talk about great pyramids, 100 to 150 meters or 146 meters like the Great Pyramid. So Nile is a main source and a main sign for the beginning of the greatness of Egyptian civilizations. So it has a great role for that point of view.
Yes. I'd like to thank you very much, Dr. Ismail Hamid, researcher in the African studies and an expert in African history. Thank you very much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, stay tuned. We have so much coming up in the coming segments of The Breakfast Show right after a short break.